Alright guys, welcome back. We are playing Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 5, Meakashi. Last time, well, we are seeing the events of Watanagashi in 1983 from Shion's perspective. Seems a whole lot like Chapter 2, doesn't it? It makes me think, what I've been thinking about for a while, is I wonder if this seems just like it's like chapter 2, right? It seems like basically what we're getting is like chapter 2 from Shion's perspective, right? Maybe it's too early to say that. Who knows? Maybe this will all be a grand, elaborate troll, and things will actually go very differently than chapter 2, right? Who knows, right? Um, I guess the question from like a more meta, not even a meta perspective, but like I mean, it's part of the game too. It's just like kind of a meta perspective in a way. Is from like Rika's point of view, like are we literally going through chapter 2 like again just from Shion's perspective right now essentially, or from Rika's point of view, having experienced these things multiple times, is this just another one of the weird like timeline, whatever you want to say it is, things, you know? Like is this actually a separate like timeline from Rika's point of view, or is this literally just we're going through chapter 2 again from Shion's perspective, right? Because Rika is the thing that can like change her own actions knowingly, right? I guess we still don't know why things happen differently in the different timelines that Rika goes through, right? I mean, I guess that's kind of the thing, right? It's just how like sometimes it rains, sometimes it doesn't. There's just I guess unknowable circumstances, I suppose, that lead to things happening differently, right? Um, because I get like, because like the question would be, why doesn't chapter 2, for example, just happen every time? Why doesn't chapter 1 just happen every time? You know what I mean? Why are things different? And I don't think that can in any way just be explainable by Rika herself changing her actions, right? But she is the one person who would have the ability to change her actions in relation to whatever is going on here, right? In chapter 2, Rika got murdered, right? Um, so if this is essentially just the broad same events that happened in chapter 2 are just happening again, and we're seeing them from Shion's perspective, and from like Rika's perspective, she already like let's say this is a different timeline than chapter 2, that we're not just seeing chapter 2 again from Shion's perspective. Let's say in the meta timeline of Rika's experiences, right? Because it's not a literal timeline because it's messing with time, right? This is actually like this timeline that Rika's experiencing right now is happening at a later point than the timeline from chapter 2, even though they seem so similar, right? Just for let's say that's what's happening. Um, then Rika would be able to change her actions in relation to what is going on right now, right? She would be able to see that everything is happening just like it did in chapter 2. For all we know, Rika has lived through this 500 quadrillion times, and she's seen Shion murder everyone 50,000 times before. So, who knows, right? But she could change her actions and do something, right? Um, which is I guess is just interesting to think about, right? It makes me think in like in chapter 3, um, when Rika was so happy about Keiichi like being friends with Sadako and all of that. I think Rika's attitude towards Keiichi in the chapters following Onikachi was very interesting. I guess we don't know if Onikachi. I don't think in any way Onikachi was like the first chapter from Rika's perspective, right? So maybe it doesn't make any sense. I just think it's Rika's perspective towards Keiichi. It seems like she was. Maybe I'm just making it up. It just seemed like she was happy that he wasn't. It wasn't going down the same way it did in Onikachi. You know what I mean? Um, so I wonder if something like that will happen here or not. Or I guess I could be being trolled and the events of whatever we're going to see just actually won't be like chapter 2 at all. This will be a completely different timeline, right? Like so far it seems so much like everything that's going down in chapter 2. But who knows, I guess. Like I guess the question is what is there that was unique about this chapter? Or not this chapter, about Shion's experiences in this timeline and then chapter 2 timeline that led to the events of what's going on right now that in some way went differently than chapter 1, chapter 3. Is it just Mion telling her about Keiichi not giving her the doll? But then I guess the question is if Keiichi actually was giving Mion the doll, like in chapter, it didn't happen in chapter 1, but in chapter 3, right? If Keiichi did give Mion the doll in chapter 3, why? What was different, right? What changed, you know? No idea. No clue. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It messes with my head thinking about what's going on. I wonder, like, if that's going to be explained. I don't know how it could be, right? Like, what I mean is, like, the minute differences between, like, the different timelines and, like, why things actually go differently. I guess it would just be, like, impossible to explain, right? Unless it all comes down, it either just has to be, like, the kind of vague thing about, like, the rain, about how things just are different, right? It's like the butterfly effect, right? Like, little tiny differences happen, and that leads to, like, much broader general changes, right? Um, and the other explanation could just be it would have to all come back to Rika's actions somehow, right? Because she is the only one who could meaningfully change her actions knowing what's going on. But I don't think that's it. I don't think that's it. I don't think in any way Rika's actions have anything to do with what's going on here. And I guess just the other interesting thing, too, that this chapter is introducing us the idea of as well is that the timelines can be so similar to each other, right? Like, this timeline seems so much like chapter 2, right? It seems like everything's going down like the same way. Um and if it's just like little weird minute circumstances that lead to things changing pretty drastically over the summer of 1983, um how did those little tiny minute changes lead to the exact same outcome, it seems, right? If this is going to just go down the same way that it did in chapter 2, how does that work? I guess that's the same question for like other stuff too, right? How it felt like in chapter 2 and in chapter 3 that the timeline was like moving along in some way, that the things that we saw early on in Onikashi and early on in chapter 2 were things that had already happened in those respective chapters, right? Like Keiichi going and having the picnic with his friends and stuff. That happened the same way in chapter 2 and chapter 3, even though we didn't see it. Um, so I don't know. I don't know how it's possible for there to be such extreme exact events in the timelines happening the exact same way if they are in any way like up to some kind of weird chance or some kind of weird like butterfly effect thing that like makes these drastic changes broadly. Okay, anyway, let's continue. God. Okay, so I'm scared. We didn't talk about this. I'm terrified. Shion, if this is gonna go down, if this is all gonna go down the same way as Chapter 2 did, we're about to just go off the fucking deep end, right? Like insane shit is about to start happening, right? I guess I will finally maybe get an answer for when the Shion Mion switch actually like happened in Chapter 2, right? Because I was always so unsure if I guess when it happened, right? Um, I feel like part of my reasoning for knowing it was Shion in chapter 2 because of like the phone call stuff and how all that lined up. I feel like part of that was predicated on Mion still being around the day after Watanagashi and it not being Shion yet. But I don't. It's been so long. I don't remember. And I don't remember. I maybe that's not necessary though. I think the real thing is it would have to be. I don't remember. It's been way too long. It's like what? It would have to be the same because all the stuff with the phone calls was there was no way for Shion to have disappeared or Shion to have disappeared, one of the sisters to have disappeared, um, at the point that Uishi was saying because we knew that like the information that Keiichi because it was like when Keiichi had been called by Shion on the phone to go to the library. You know what? Let's just play. My relatives gathered at the Sonozaki house after the festival to have a little party. I mingled with my uncles and had fun. Insane that she just goes to the Sonozaki house. I was trying to get rid of my eerie memories of the ritual storehouse. Oh, damn it. And we don't see, what I really wanted to see, was, her talking to Keiichi about the sound that she heard and him having no idea what the hell she was talking about. I really wanted to see that from Shion's perspective. And Tomotake, right? Tomotake said he heard it too. I'm actually so annoyed we didn't get to see that. Mion was acting as the successor, so I tried to stay away from her. Interesting. I'm sure she would feel weird if I talked to her in a formal way. In consideration of the hag's old age, we ended the party around 11 p.m. The best song. We all helped to clean up, and the women washing the dishes in the kitchen, with the women washing the dishes in the kitchen, and the men folding the tables and putting them away in the storeroom. It only took about 30 minutes. Then everyone left, one after another. It's crazy. It's just crazy to me that she goes here, right? I guess she still views herself as a Sonozaki. She thinks that's she should I don't know. I guess I don't know what she should do, but I wouldn't want any part of any of this Sonozaki stuff, right? Like, I mean, by then Mion was no longer acting as the Sonozaki successor and was back to being her normal self. I guess it's like it's a sentiment I see online a lot, is that the idea that in like I guess, you know, I live in the US, right? I'm American. People say a lot that in America, the idea of just like cutting off your family for doing like horrible things to you, it's almost like an American thing. People say, right, that you shouldn't just be so willing to cut off your family if they do terrible things to you, I guess, right? It's like I've seen this meme about like I don't know, like American like therapists telling you that no matter what, if you have any amount of, if your mother ever was mean to you as a child, you should cut her off forever, right? And that's not the kind of vein I'm trying to go down here, right? Obviously, like Shion's family has done horrible, unbelievable things to her, and I guess I just feel like if I was her. I mean, it's not like she really has a choice, right? It's not like just cutting off her family means anything, right? And the fact that she can't, in a way, because she lives in Okonomiya, she lives so close to Hinamizawa, is kind of part of the point, I suppose, right? She doesn't really have a choice. It's not like, yeah, she shows up here, she shows up to the Sonozaki, you know, little gathering here and all of this, and it makes me mad, because I wish she would just say, like, fuck all of you, right? But I guess that's just part of it. She has to reaffirm that she is still a Sonozaki in some sense, and that she's still, you know, like, her showing up here and being so, like, in a way, docile just by being here and not making a scene or anything. I guess that's part of the point, right? That's part of what they have done to her, right? Maybe I overexerted a little. I was lying on the tatami floor. Because like, my conflict here is, like, obviously Mion's so part of it, too. I don't want her to, like, you know, I don't want her to not be a Sonozaki anymore, especially if it means losing, like, Kasai and Mion and all these people. I guess that's part of the horrible, like, abuse tactic in a way, right? The only people in her life that she does have are people who are so deeply connected to the Sonozakis. So it's not like she can just say, like, fuck you, I'm leaving, right? I'm not a Sonozaki anymore, blah, 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 blah. Not that that's really even within her power to do so, right? But it's not like emotionally, I would understand why she wouldn't even want to do that, because then she would lose the only couple people she actually does have, you know? Kasai asked me if I could get in the car. So I told him I'd rather not move anymore.
おねえ、今日泊まってってもいい？ここで寝ちゃいたい。バッチャに見つかると怒られるよ。で、それよりシオン、明日は学校じゃないの？
She doesn't go to school.
明日は開校記念日だからいいの。
She is making that up.
あんたの学校、開校記念日って年に何回あるわけ？まあ、いっか。
It's... Her tendency to really never want to go to school, I think, is very interesting. That she just... I guess in a way... Well, no, I don't know. I don't know what I would say about it, right? It's sad, because school is the one place she actually could, like, live a normal life and have friends and do something, right? But she resists that so much, too.
じゃあ、笠井さん。シオンは今夜はうちで預かります。
I'm trying to think of, like, a way to connect it to, like, her Sonozaki situation, and I guess like, in a way, the Sonozaki's kind of orchestrated this, too, telling her she should go to school in Okonomiya, but, like, that's not really, like, that's very different than them having sent her to St. Lucia's, right?
わかりました。では、よろしくお願いいたします。
ほら、シオン、起きて。ここで寝てるとバッチャに怒られるって。ほら、 肩を貸すから奥に行こう。私の布団貸してあげるから。ありり。もうね。
She's so tired. Is she really, though? I don't know. My alter ego told me that I'm in a demon's stomach. I wouldn't have woken up if I hadn't heard that voice. But when I stop, he always walks one extra step. I might not have woken up at all. Oh, God. And if she didn't wake up, I wonder. I didn't remember much after that. I was probably brought to Mion's room and immediately crawled into the futon. After a while, Mion got her futon ready next to me, turned the lights off, and went to sleep. At least, that's what I thought. I got up and turned the lights on. Mion's futon was empty. The futon felt cold. Mion must have left it a while ago. Did she go to the bathroom? No, the closest bathroom was right there down the hallway. God. The light in the bathroom was off. Where did she go? The ticking of the clock was loud and annoying in this silence. The hands pointed to a little before 3 a.m. I was left alone all of a sudden, in this late night. I felt the eeriness of the ritual storehouse coming back to me, after almost managing to forget it in the ruckus earlier. I tried to sense my surroundings. In this house, there shouldn't be an eerie atmosphere, or strange noise, or footsteps. Like, she hasn't already done it, right? She hasn't, like, this isn't like a Keiichi in Chapter 1 situation where he, like, zoned, he zoned out and killed him, right? Like, this isn't that, right? She hasn't, like, Mion's not already down in the torture dungeon, right? Like... I stepped out into the freezing cold hallway to look for Mion. Is it really that freezing, huh? When I did, I immediately noticed light coming from one of the nearby rooms. That room belonged to the hag. The hag went to sleep early and woke up early. She was very strict about her bedtime, so it was strange to see her light on in the middle of the night. I could hear voices, too. Those voices belonged to the hag and Mion. Okay, now, thank God. I creeped up to the room and listened to their conversation. Since it was the middle of the night, I could hear their words very clearly. It's gonna be something about... It's gonna be something about, like, the curse, right? Or it's going to be something that is going to make Shion more sure than before that it has to be them who are responsible for Sachi's disappearance. That's what it's going to be, right? It has to be. Oh, about going into the ritual storehouse. Right, maybe that's even worse. Oh, yeah, they're talking about Tomitake and Takano's death, yeah. I wonder how they knew. How do they know that they snuck into the ritual storehouse? There's the moment, what was it, like Keiichi turned on the light like a dumbass or something, right? I guess there's really a lot of ways they could have known, right? I mean, if anyone saw them at all. Mion's voice sounded as cold as the one I'd heard down in the torture room. I held my breath. No. It's probably Takano-san. What do you mean it's probably Takano-san? Like, what do you mean by that? Is she just saying that she's probably the one who's dead, who got killed? Or does this belie some kind of further knowledge about what's going on? My heart almost stopped. Oyashiro-sama got angry. The police are investigating. It's probably Takano-san. And what day was it today? Those words told me that something was happening. My teeth started to chatter. I desperately tried to stop them. I felt like my body was swelling up suddenly. I could no longer hear as well. Calm down. Breathe. Listen more carefully. According to Mion and the hag's conversation, another incident definitely took place. The victims were Takano-san and Tomitake-san. From what I could tell, both Mion and the hag thought it made sense that whatever it was happened to them. No. I needed to think more calmly. They did say they deserved it for making Oyashiro-sama angry. Did they say Takano-san and Tomitake-san made Oyashiro-sama angry? How did they make Oyashiro-sama angry? They knew. Yeah, my body started to shake. They knew we snuck into the ritual storehouse. And this is why she's gonna do it, isn't it? Then would that mean Keiichi and I were also subject to Oyashiro-sama's curse? Oh my god. Suddenly a phone rang. The phone was by the front door. The front door was opposite the hag's room, further down the hall. The ringing echoed throughout the long hallway. It sounded so eerie, almost like it was coming from hell. That was when I felt someone behind me. Of course, there was nobody there when I turned around. But there was someone there a moment ago. I didn't know if it was Sachi-kun. I didn't sense any emotions, so I couldn't tell. I also didn't know how long it had been there. It was as if that somebody was watching me listen in on their conversation. That was the feeling I got. Fuck, I forgot to talk about the thing behind them. I have so many things to say about that. It couldn't be Sachi-kun. Sachi-kun would never be that intimidating or scary. My mind turned all red, like it was suffused with blood.
みーちゃんにはない
Oh, God.
ひたひたと
Mm-hmm.
ずっと足音がついてきて、夜は枕元にまで立たれて見下ろされる経験。
I remembered what Rene Ryugu had said on that rainy day.
そうならばみーちゃんは大丈夫。お社様には怒られない。
If Oyashiro-sama wasn't angry, nobody would follow me. So what did this mean? Ever since we snuck into the shrine storage, something has been following me? What is it? Calm down, but it's been following you for way longer than that, right? Like, I mean, unless she really... I mean, she has her whole Satoshi thing, right? Of course, but... That's right, Rena wasn't talking about me. She was talking about Satoshi-kun. That's what happened to Satoshi-kun.
サトシ君が体験していることは、すべてお社様のたたりの前触れなの。
Oh, God. That's right. That's why he encountered the curse of Eiichiro-sama.
誰かが遠くから
Like, this audio is gonna drive me insane. I'm literally, like, we have a phone we have a phone ringing, we have that noise playing, we have this music, we have, like, oh, God.
誰かがずっとつけてくる。
A creepy feeling crawled up and spread across my back.
誰かがいつも
Yeah, we just need the bells. We just need the bells. That's what we need.
やがて足音は常に自分とずれて一つ余計に聞こえるようになるの。
You sure do. You sure do. I swallowed loudly. It was almost as though Rena Ryugu was predicting what would happen to me. Had Rena been talking about Sachi-kun back then? Or had she actually been talking about me?
やがて後ろのそれ
Oh,
は
God.
自分の家の中にまでついてくるようになる。そしてお布団に入って明かりを消しても
Just what
ず
you
っと
want.
枕元から見下ろしてるの。
That's certainly how Keiichi was feeling
ただ
back
た
then.
だ黙ってじーっと。
Or, I mean, that night that Shion said she was staying up all night talking to Sachi, right? I knew by now that there was no mistake. No matter how I looked at it, she had been talking about me. Yes, me. Was she? Maybe. I don't really know if she was. I don't know how Rena... I feel like the only way Rena would have been talking about her was if she somehow knew that was Shion, right? Because why would she have thought that Mion would be a target, you know? But if she knew about Shion, then she would, but I don't know. And a bit about me. The curse of Eiichiro-sama. What is the curse of Eiichiro-sama? That was when I actually felt something for real. Oh, God. Someone grabbed my collar. No voice came out. I wanted to scream, but all I could do was open and close my mouth, as if something was stuck in my throat. It was Mion. She looked even colder than how she'd looked in the underground torture room. It only made sense that she'd come out into the hallway to answer the phone. I tried to come up with an excuse. However, the way Mion looked at me was so cold. Even if I really had run into her by accident, I could tell by the look in her eyes that she wouldn't believe me. I felt cold sweat all over my body. I couldn't even move my fingers.
ごめん。
I apologized. I could have said something to get myself out of the situation, but the apology came out first. But Mion didn't appear to hear me. She walked to the front door, still holding my collar. I guess, like, how much of this is Mion acting like this? How much of this is Shion's paranoia, hallucination, lunacy? Who knows? The phone was still ringing, like Mion's attitude, I mean, right? A normal person doesn't usually let a phone ring so long at this time of night. The phone call itself didn't seem real to me. Mion picked up the
ミオ
phone.
ンです。そうですか。わかりました。
Wonder what it is. Them telling them about Tomitaka and Takano? It seemed like they already knew,
そ
but
ちらの対応はよろしくお願いし
Or
ます。
something afterwards.
それから一切の口封じをよろしくお願いします。ええ、では。
Mion put down the phone after a short conversation. What did she mean? Make sure nobody talks about this. Who called anyway? Mion put her forehead to mine and spoke to me. Oh,
聞い
God.
てた？
Which conversation was she asking me about? Well, she had to be talking about the one with the hag. If I said yes, what would happen to me?
知る。何のことかわかんない。
Mion pulled my collar, pressed her nose on mine, and continued to speak.
聞こえた通りです。富武さんと高野さんが本当にお気の毒なことです。
Yeah. It was like I was talking to myself in a mirror. But what I was saying in the mirror was ever so cold.
おねえ、お社様のたたりって何です？
Why is Mion acting like this? You know? I guess I just don't know. I just don't know. The problem too is like we're seeing all of this through the lens of Shion's, paranoia, the crazy shit that makes you go crazy, right? So it's like it's very hard to not be swayed by that, right? I'm sure this is literally what Mion is saying. Like I don't think Shion's hallucinating that Mion is saying this, right? It could be your tone of voice. It could be many things, right? But like, what would Mion be thinking right now? What would Mion be thinking right now about Shion having heard that, right? I feel like that's too complicated of a question, right? Like, what would it be? Why would it be bad for Shion to have heard that? Well, it's not like the Sonozakis are behind Tomitake-san and Takano's deaths, or Tomitake's death and Takano's death, right? So I don't know. Let's just keep going. Let's just keep going. How's that sound?
富武さんは自らの手で喉をかきむしってお亡くなりになりました。
Right?
高野さんは遠くの山奥でドラム缶に詰められて焼き殺されたそうで。
Allegedly.
実にお気の毒です。
Quite. Tomitake-san clawed at his own throat until he died. What? Takano-san was burned to death in an oil drum? What? I felt something furry crawl up my spine. I also felt like my stomach was turning upside down. I didn't feel any strength in my legs. If Mion let go of my collar, I'd probably collapse on the spot.
なんでそんな死に方したのかな。わかりませんか、シオン。
I'm asking you because I don't know.
わかんないよ。
Oh, God.
理由なんて一つしかないじゃないですか。
Please don't talk as if I already know the answer. I mean, I want to say in some way Mion wants to protect Shion. But I don't know how this would be in service of that.
何の理由かな。
Her voice. My heart was pounding. I felt that my next breath would be so bloody and hot that I'd choke on it.
そんなこともわかんないのですか。
It's because they made Oshiro-sama angry. The first year, there's the manager of the damn construction site. Okay, but that's such a nothing reason. That's such a nothing answer, right? That doesn't even mean they know anything, right? Like I do they even know that they stuck into the ritual storehouse, right? Because they could always just post-death rationalize it as it's because they made Oshiro-sama angry, right? Like we talked about this, how with all the previous deaths, it's not like the way Oishi described it in chapter 1, with the bar for making Oshiro-sama angry getting lower and lower. It's more like they have to twist it more and like squish it more into the box of they somehow made Oshiro-sama angry, right? Like if Mion doesn't say literally that they snuck into the ritual storehouse here, then I wonder if the Sonozakis even knew about it, right? Obviously afterwards it's Shion, and Shion herself knows about it, so it's different, right? But God, I don't know. Because they could say this about every death, right? No matter who died this year, they could say it's because they made Oshiro-sama angry, and they could come up with some reason for that, right? Like, I feel like almost no matter what they could, right? Because remember when Tomitake died the first year, and in Onikashi, I mean, and it seemed, and at that time we didn't know anything about Saiguden, we didn't know anything about them sneaking into it, and their explanation for why Tomitake died in chapter 1 was that he was like taking pictures during Rika's like dance, and that made Oshiro-sama angry, right? But that's a completely different reason, right? It's like Tomitake was going to die either way that year. And they came up with a completely different explanation for his death, right? Which was, oh, he was taking pictures that pissed off Ayashiro-sama, you know? They could do that every time. They could do that every time with any reason, with any explanation. And yeah, so I don't know. The first year, it was the manager of the damn construction site. The second year, it was the traders to the village. And the Sonozakis, again, it's like the Sonozakis used this Oyashiro-sama stuff as like a reinforcement for their own power, like a justification for the position they have in the village, right? So they themselves have a justification and a reason to want to say that every murder is because they pissed off Oyashiro-sama, you know? The third year, it was the pacifist. The fourth year, it was the relatives of the traitors. I've always thought the victims were people who had something to do with the dam conflict. Since I didn't do anything against the village during the dam conflict, I assumed I was safe. I should have known. I should have known everything would be the curse of Oyashiro-sama. I knew Oyashiro-sama's anger was the curse of Oyashiro-sama. I knew Oyashiro-sama would get angry if I snuck into the ritual storehouse. But since I wasn't held responsible in any way for the dam conflict, I never thought I would be a victim of the curse. Did I ever think there would be an incident in the 5th year? Did I ever think that I'd be the victim of that 5th year incident? Tamatake-san snuck into the storehouse, and he clawed at his own throat until he died. Takano-san was burned to death in an oil drum. It must be a lie. It couldn't be true. Even if it was forbidden, it was just the space for storing some old torture implements. How could they be killed just for sneaking in there? Well, yeah, how could you be tortured for anything you've ever done? It's like it's stupid and unfair, huh? Especially in such gruesome ways. But I thought about it again and realized that those people were absolutely capable of doing things like that. The main Sonozaki family was capable of it. The Sonozaki family had been pulling the strings behind the series of mysterious deaths. They could do it. The Sonozaki family even kidnapped the grandson of the Minister of Construction during the dam conflict. Kinda, maybe. They could do it. The Sonozaki family made Sachi-kun disappear completely. Oh, they could do it. Oh god. What was that, huh? Mion leaned against me before falling onto the cold hallway floor. Yeah. She collapsed rather violently. What did you do? I usually didn't go to sleep with my stun gun. It's that! Of course. Right. The good old stun gun. But since I was too tired and sleepy to get ready for bed, I still had it on me. I had my stun gun on me. I finally understood. I didn't know who killed them exactly. Whose idea it was or who ordered it. Oh god, this is like such a big thing, right? Like, this is so big. This is such a big thing. Like, oh god. It's just gonna be a slippery slope from here, right? Like, she's done the first thing ever to fight back against this, right? Obviously, I don't blame Mion for any of it. Her line of thinking is completely wrong. Blaming the Sonozakis for the deaths. Thinking Mion has anything to do with it. All of that. Completely wrong. Her premise on this is completely wrong, right? But this does represent her finally doing something against the Sonozakis and what they've been doing this whole time, right? This is like... I just think with this, she will be broken. It's like the dam has broken, right? And it's all just gonna start happening, right? Like... whose idea it was or who ordered it. I didn't even know who was actually involved. But Mion and the hag knew everything. Sachi-kun. Now I finally know. Now I know what I need to do. I will settle the score for you, Sachi-kun. I will avenge you, Sachi-kun. I won't be killed like you, Sachi-kun. Yeah. She's doing it for Satoshi. I walked into the hag's room. She was sitting up to take some medicine. Her back was turned to me. You're just gonna kill her? I mean, Mion and I are twins. If I acted like her, the hag wouldn't notice the difference, other than the clothes you're wearing. I didn't think she ever suspected me. I put my stun gun to her neck and pulled the trigger. God, I heard an indescribable electrical sound, and the hag's lights went out. I mean, that might just kill her, right, with how old she is? She fell in a twisted position. I didn't know how long it would take a person to regain their freedom of movement after getting knocked out with a stun gun, so I had to restrain them before they woke back up. I was unbelievably calm. Oh god, we're just doing it now. Oh, Jesus Christ. And it's not good. It's not good, right? Like, what she's doing is not good, obviously, right? She's kind of doing the thing that I've been trying to resist myself from falling into mentally this whole time. At least with Mion. I mean, you could say she's kind of a horrible, terrible person in a lot of ways, right? Obviously. Mion, at least, it's not Mion's fault at all. She's just at mercy of this whole Sonozaki structure as Shion is in a way. And it's like, yeah, I've wanted Shion to be mad, right, this whole chapter, right? I want her to, like, break free of this. I want her to have this eye-opening, right, as the chapter is called. But obviously it's like, the way in which it takes shape is not good, right? She shouldn't just start killing people and torturing them. And like, I guess we don't know. I mean, all we know from the end of chapter 2, I guess, is she's gonna be putting Mion into the torture room. And, I mean, Oryu was at the bottom of the well, right? So I wonder if she's gonna kill Oryu right now. I don't know. I don't think that's the answer, obviously. I don't think you should kill people. I think we learned from chapter 3 that killing people is bad, right? Yeah, I don't know. I guess I think Oryu has done a lot of horrible, terrible, awful things. But does she deserve death? Does she deserve the death penalty? Probably not. I don't really think that's ever really the answer in a way. The key to the underground torture room was in a forbidden drawer that only the head of the family can access. Miana told me about this once. I mean, in a way, this is just kind of Oryu reaping what she sowed, in a sense, right? Like, I mean, Shion wouldn't be like this. Shion wouldn't be in the position she's in if Oryu hadn't done this to her. So, like, I'm not justifying Shion's actions in that way, really, but, like, from Oryu's perspective, she's not allowed to complain. I never looked for the drawer before, but I found it exactly where I thought it would be. What is this music? The key was on a keychain with several of its sisters. Each key had a little plaque on it that said what it was used for. Back to the keys, huh? They were all in Mion's handwriting. She was an idiot for being so conscientious, but it sure helped me out. God. I put the keychain in my pocket and headed to the outdoor storeroom to find a cart. I found a large flashlight there as well. There's a strap on the flashlight so I could put it on my shoulder. I mean, it's just like, you see what I mean with, like, the dam breaking? How it just, she's just, like, flown into action now. And she's doing all this crazy shit, right? It's like, it's almost like all of this had to have been in her head for so long already. To just immediately just go into this whole plan of, oh, I'm gonna bring the bound to the torture room and I'm gonna do all this, you know, like, God. That way, I'd have both hands free to carry Mion and the hag. I loaded Mion and then her grandmother onto the cart and carried them to the underground torture room. I was prepared to use the stun gun again if they woke up while I was working. But it was more powerful than I imagined, and the hag showed no signs of waking. Like, how quickly we went from her stuttering against the wall, having no idea what to say and what to do, to I'm loading Mion and our grandmother onto the cart for the torture room. Like, Jesus Christ, right? But again, it's kind of representative of her entire life and what she's been put through, right? This was the stun gun Kasei specifically ordered for me when I told him I wanted a powerful one. Oh, I remembered him telling me that it was an illegally modified stun gun, and that I should never use it just for fun. I used my flashlight to find the light switch. I found it easily and turned it off. Oh god, all the lights went on in the basement. Although there was now illumination, it was very dim. I moved quickly so as to finish what I needed to do before they woke up. I decided to put Mion in a cell beyond the torture. Oh, I don't want to see her talk to Mion. I don't want this. I really don't want this. Oh, like, think about her attitude towards Mion at the end of chapter 2. Like, what's she gonna say? What is Mion gonna say to her when she wakes up? What is Shion gonna say to Mion? What, like... I just don't know. Oh, God. The lights in the torture room were so bright that it was like daylight. There's a door there. I was fairly certain the cells were on the other side of that door. The proper key was here. The keys made a tinkling sound. I felt cold air coming in through the gap in the door. There must be a huge opening on the other side. Yeah, it's like insane. I opened the door and saw nothing but darkness. I felt along the wall to find a light switch. Here it is. I turned the light switch on, and the light bulbs lit up, revealing a huge, rocky cave. It didn't look like a natural cave. It looked more like an air raid shelter. There were several hollow openings with bars across them. Those were the cells. I walked up to the closest cell and checked to see if it was strong enough to confine her. I pushed and pulled on the bars. I rammed against them with all my weight and decided they were perfectly sturdy. This was secure enough to be called a cell. You know what I'm thinking about right now is how, like, the entire thing that Shion is doing right now is insane, right? Like, she's taking the two most powerful people in the village who have all these crazy Yakuza connections and all of this shit, and throwing them into these prison cells, right? You would think for anyone else who would do this, they would just be caught, like, immediately. The Yakuza would torture them to death. Like, it would be so immediately, easily figured out, right? Like, what is happening right now, right? it's only because Shion looks exactly like Mion that she's able to pretend to be Mion and like and pull this off. It's actually so crazy. What I'm thinking about too is like the excuse that Shion uses, or well, no, I guess I don't know. I guess no one knows that Shion herself is missing, and I guess Shion, when she's pretending to be Mion, she like covers up Oryu's disappearance in a way. It felt like, right? I guess we don't know the details yet, so I guess just kind of no one knows that it has happened, right? And that's why she's able to get away with it for like a few days, right? I mean, it's just insane. It's just insane that that this like 5 minutes ago, this wasn't happening. Like, I opened the lock and carried Mion in. I wasn't particularly strong, just average. I never thought I was strong enough to carry a whole person. But now I didn't need to pretend to be weak. I could easily lift and drag their bodies. I didn't need to pretend to be weak. Her entire mindset has just changed instantly, right? It's just, I mean, literally, it's just in a sense, they pushed her too far, essentially, right? Like, it all comes back to Satoshi in a way, right? But it feels it's very interesting seeing her saying, "I didn't need to pretend to be weak." That in some way she's been having to pretend to be weak the whole time, right? Like, it really is. It's like she's viewing herself and her situation with the Sonozakis in just a completely changed new light, right? Oh my god. I put Mion in the cell. She seemed to moan a little. I didn't need to check to make sure. The effect of my stun gun was wearing off. I closed the bars and turned the key in the lock. Then I ran to the hag. He must have been starting to wake up too, or she could just be dead. I mean, fortunately, there was no sign of her regaining consciousness. Maybe the difference in age had something to do with it. Yeah. I looked for a table to restrain her on. Oh my god. Oh my god. I found a wheelchair with restraints for the hands and feet. I put the hag in it. Of course she didn't resist, but her dead weight made it seem like she was a huge French doll, but one made of flesh. I put her hands in the armrests and restrained them at the wrists with the metal rings and hinges. I did the same with her feet. This must have been a wheelchair specifically remodeled to restrain a person. Other than the restraints, it was a regular wheelchair. This is insane! This is insane! This is insane! Like, actually just crazy, right? How for Shion 30 minutes ago, she was lying in bed, gonna go to sleep, continue to just live her life the way it's been this whole time. And now this is happening. It's just actually just crazy. Like, man, I waited for the hag to wake up. I had so many things I wanted to ask her. I wonder if she will. I wonder if she'll get. I bet she won't wake up, right? I bet she's dead. I didn't think she'd answer honestly, but I had plenty of tools to make her talk. I was in no rush. When the hag had a concern, relatives took care of the problem. That was how it worked in the Sonozaki family. She was the leader of the family, so all the information they gathered would make its way to her. She must know everything that happened in Hinamizawa. I wonder if she does, right? Like, even if I don't think the Sonozakis are in any way orchestrating the literal murders, just because we have so many examples of murders happening that we know they had nothing to do with, right? Like, the ones in Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 with Shion, and Chapter 3, Keiichi killing Teppei, and the Hanamizawa disaster, and I mean, like, all of these things that we know the Sonozakis didn't do. I wonder if she actually knows the truth about anything, right? Like, I wonder if Oryu herself almost like this whole way of things working, right? That she expresses her concerns and relatives just take care of it. I wonder if she even thinks that's almost been what has been happening anyway, right? That she almost feels like there has just been someone doing it like for her in a way every year. Um, but that doesn't really make sense. It's not like they themselves have any reason to want to kill, Sadako's parents or Rika's parents. I don't think the Sonozakis. I don't think Oryu that would fit into the category of her concerns at all. So I wonder if Oryu knows anything about the truth of any of it. She just uses it for her own advantage, for the Sonozaki's advantage, right? Including the curse of Aishiro-sama. I heard a noise from the cell. Oh, Jesus Christ. What is she gonna say? What is she gonna say? Is she just gonna start screaming at her and tormenting her? Because right now, Shion feels like she's full of, like, righteous, justified anger, right? About Satoshi and about, right, like this, in her mind, is basically like a self-defense thing, almost, right? As insane as this is, right? She thinks if she doesn't do something like this, they're gonna kill her, right? obviously it goes way further than that, and she's mistaken, right? But God. I don't know. I don't know. What's she gonna do? What's she gonna say? I don't think Shion's feelings have really gone so far yet as to be like, um, the whole Shion Mion thing. How like at the end of chapter 2, she literally starts calling herself Mion, right? Like she believes that she should be the one who was Mion and is the rightful successor for all of this. It felt like that was where it ends up. It doesn't feel like she's there yet. So I wonder what she's going to say to Mion. I don't think she's going to have the horrible, terrible, tormenting attitude towards her that she had at the end of chapter 2 yet, but maybe she will. It's right, the dam has been opened. Who knows? Speaking of the hag, she didn't seem like she was about to wake up anytime soon, but she was restrained even if she did, so I had no need to fear. I left the hag there and headed for the cell.
シオン、これは何の真似ですか？
Interesting attitude. She's not. Yeah, she talked like the successor, but she also sounded frightened. She obviously understood the situation she was in right now. Yeah, she's still trying to maintain that attitude.
おはよう、ミオン。
God, oh my God, Shion, girl.
まさか自分が閉じ込められることになるとは思わなかった？
Oh God. Oh, but it's not Mion's fault. It's not Mion's fault.
園崎家当主代行として命じます。ここを
Yeah, I think she's good. I think
開けなさい。
I don't think she'll be doing that, sadly.
声色に一つ凄みが欠けますね。
God.
当
Oh
主様は
God.
もっと傲慢な言い方をしなきゃね。
Oh God. Oh, when is Mion gonna break? Mion's gonna break fast, I bet. Because I mean, that's how Mion is.
もっとも、そういう言い方ができたとしても、今のあんたは滑稽なだけなんだけどさ。
Like, of course she's gonna relish in it, right? She's gonna relish in like oh God, no, it feels so good in a way because it's Shion finally expressing like this clear discontent, obviously for all of this stupid Sonozaki shit, right? Like the way Mion's always talked about her, the all of this, right? Just and she is the one in power, and I understand that. It's just, oh God, oh God. Yeah. There's nothing funny about it, but I wanted to intimidate Mion. It's so different. It's so different than the way she would ever think about it before, right? She would never think about making fun of the whole power structure system here between her and Mion, She couldn't. She My laughter echoed throughout the cave. It was an artificial and meaningless laughter. I heard it over and over as it echoed. It sounded as if I wasn't the only one laughing. I couldn't stand it, so I stopped. Silence filled the air. That silence almost hurt my ears, so I started to speak. Like, is she gonna second guess herself at all at this point when we've like it's begun now? Is she going to second guess herself, right? Like moments like this silence right here, this would be a moment where, looking at Mion in the cell, does she really think about what she's doing, right? Like, but it's just all the repressed feelings, the repressed anger, and the repressed, like, everything, Like, she can't stop herself,
富武さんと高野さんが今年の犠牲になるとはね、思わなかった。
They don't know anything about it. They don't know anything about it. They don't know anything about it. And once Mion breaks in a sense and starts telling her that, right? I assume Mion is going to be like, yeah, we don't fucking know anything about any of this. It's just gonna, like, make Shion mad, honestly, right? Like,
高野さんのドラム缶に詰めて焼き殺したってのもなかなかやるね。ま、あの人はそういう死に方を自分で希望してたっぽいからね。
she sure would. She sure would, huh? She sure would be the kind of person who would prefer to die that way.
結構満足してるかもね。
I guess we still don't know why Takano does that, but why she fakes her death? I don't know. Mion didn't say anything. She just stared at me to see how I'd proceed.
富武さんの自分で自分の喉を引き裂いたってのは何？凶器に駆り立てるような怪しいお薬でも注射したの？
Give him a shot, huh?
それともそういう死に方に見せるような拷問道具でもあるわけ？
Mion didn't reply. I was smiling boldly, but I became impatient and finally kicked the bars. It made a violent noise. Mion jumped as if she was kicked directly.
返事がないと退屈です。
Oh god.
私を怒らせるとどんな得が？
Mion just doesn't have the answers.
私が知るわけないでしょ。
And obviously, like the other thing too, of course, is it's too late for Shion to go back, right? Like, she's doing this now. She can't just stop, right? I mean, it's kind of impossible, right? What would they do to her if she was just like, oh, my bad, I'll let you out, right? Like, maybe Mion wouldn't do anything, but Mion as the successor, Mion, you know, it couldn't be hidden, you know, or he's dead, right? Like, it's just, I don't know. Maybe they could cover it up if they really tried, but it wouldn't mean the things that I think that have led to this wouldn't change, and Shion wouldn't. Mion finally replied. She was odious, but at the same time sounded pitiful.
ねえ、ミオン。次期当主様。ここまで来ちゃったんだから教えてくださいな。
It's the successor, like she should know, right?
と。
I just had too many things I wanted to ask her. I wanted her to ask her about me, about the incident, about the curse. Yeah, it's like she's fine. She's so many things, right? It's like she's finally, like, free, right? Fuck, God. I didn't even know where to start. Before I asked her about those, I asked her one other thing.
私に対して反抗的な態度をとっても何の得にもならないこと。理解してますよね。
I wonder if some part of Shion recognizes... I wonder if some part of Shion recognizes that Mion... Well, I guess not that she doesn't know anything, but, like, I just... Like, as I'm viewing this scene, I'm just thinking about, like, just a couple days ago, or I guess a few days ago, when Mion and Shion were just having a, like, heart-to-heart about Mion's feelings about, like, Keiichi, right? Just, like, a very personal conversation between sisters, right? Like, if Mion was really just this evil successor who knows all these things and is planning all this shit, I just wonder how would Shion, like, have those two things in her mind, right? Like, how does she weigh those together? How does she deal with that contradiction, right? That Mion is clearly just someone who is just a normal person and just cares about her and all of this, you know. But she also thinks that she knows everything and is the evil successor, you know. I understand why Shion would feel like this, of course, from the way she's always been treated and the difference between her and Mion and all of this, you know. But I just feel like it's something that would lead so easily to Shion, like, having some kind of second guess about her actions here. But, again, it's just, the dam's broken. I get, it's too late for that, I guess, right? Like, God. Mion glared at me silently. Because we were twins, I knew that was just a bluff.
もうここまでやっちゃった以上、私も引っ込みがつかないんで。お姉も、私に容赦とか躊躇とか、そういうものをあまり期待しない方がいいかもです。
Yeah. Mion must have been feeling the cold sweat on her face. Although the light was dim, I could tell she was
じゃあ
frightened.
聞くよ。ひなみ沢村連続開始事件。
She can't
通称
tell her.
お
She
社
can't tell her
様の
anything.
語り。
She can't tell her
これっ
anything.
てどういう意味があるの？
They don't know.
やっぱりダム戦争のけじめってやつ？私は、多分そうだと思ってる。
Yeah, they don't know. They don't know. Mion sounded a little confused, but she answered. I felt satisfaction now that we were communicating. I continued with a
思
smile.
ってるって言い方が少し頼りないね。そのあたりの事情は詳しくないの？シオンだって分かってるでしょ。次期当主なんてバッチャの取り次ぎに過ぎないよ。
Interesting. So, like, and if Oyu's already dead, then, oh god. Oh no. She's gonna think that Oyu actually had the answers. It's just too late because she's dead. Fuck. Yeah, right.
その当主様と意思を疎通させて維心伝心なのが次期当主様の役目でしょ。取り次ぎに過ぎないなんて信じると思う？いつも身近にいる私だってたまにバッチャが何を考えてるのかわからない時があるもん。
And obviously, she doesn't know either, right?
何でもかんでも私が理解してるわけじゃない。じゃあ、お社様のたたりってのは、あいつ
No.
が全部独断で決めてるわけなんだ。
Nope, not quite.
次期当主様と相談して決めてるのかと思ったよ。
Although, is that how Mion actually thinks it is too? I guess, maybe.
やばい話は、全部バッチャが一人で決めてる。 私なんか預かり知る余地もない。
Interesting.
ばあさんの独断だとしたって。
Is Mion... I'm thinking about this compared to, like, Keiichi and Mion talking in chapter 3, right? And how it was very clear in that moment that it felt like Mion didn't know anything about it, right? Or at least, I mean, that's just kind of always the vibe I've gotten, right? It didn't seem like this was what Mion thought then. Um, I'm saying when Keiichi went up to Mion and like asked her to kill Tepe, right, with the curse. So does Mion really think that the Sonozakis are behind it in some way, and that they've been doing it, or and that she herself just doesn't know anything about it? Or is she just telling Shion what she wants to hear? Or is she saying it in the weird, like, you know, people just do what or you wants type of thing? You know what I mean? That it's the wishy-washy kind of thing, like the the kidnapping.
あいつはあんたを介してやり取りしてるわけでしょ。そのあんたが何も知らないなんてあるはず。違うよ。私なんかを介していない。私にだってよくわからないんだけど。
Yeah, or I guess Mion just doesn't know. I
私
think
が
Mion
陽の
just
部
doesn't
分を
know,
取り継い
right?
でるとしたら、陰の部分を取り継いでる誰かがいると思う。
Yeah. Yeah.
誰？その影の部分の取り継ぎって。知らない。誰かを招いて話してるとことか、電話をしているとことか見たことない？強いて言えば、毎年お社様のたたりの時期になると連絡量がどっと増える相手ね。わ
It's
かん
just
ない。
not. It's just not. It's
心当
just
たりなん
not.
かないよ。
Mion shook her
まあい
head.
いや。じゃあ質問を変えるね。今年のたたりの富武さんと高野さんはダム戦争に直接関係してないのに、
I actually wonder
なぜ
what
やっ
Mion's
ぱり
answer to this will be.
西宮殿に忍び込んだから？
They didn't know anything about that. As soon as Mion heard the words ritual storehouse, her expression
西
shifted.
宮殿に？古手神社の西
Of
宮殿
course,
を
yeah,
落
they
とし
didn't
た
know.
の？
Okay, they didn't know. They didn't know. Okay. No, this makes complete sense. I'm surprised I didn't think of this before, right? No one knew that they snuck in, right? Tomitake and Takano died for reasons having nothing to do with the ritual storehouse, right? Takano killed Tomitake or something, right? Or knew he was gonna die, I guess, because of the crazy shit that makes you go crazy, because he was also having, like, the hallucination thing with the stomping. Something like that, right? Maybe that's why Takano likes him so much. Takano faked her own death, right? So yeah, they didn't die for that reason at all. No one ever knew that they snuck into the ritual storehouse. Well, Rika knows. Rika ends up knowing, right? Because in chapter 2, when she's talking to Keiichi, it's so obvious that Rika knows, right? But if that's after the point where Mion and Shion have already switched, Shion knows that they went into the ritual storehouse, obviously, because she went into it, right? So would Rika... But why would Shion do that, right? Like, Shion pretending to be Mion at the next big Hinamizawa meeting tells everyone, oh, the evil children snuck into the ritual storehouse, we gotta kill Keiichi. No, I don't think that happens, right? But how does Rika know, then? Although, wait, what am I saying? Rika could fucking know anything and everything because of the fucking timeline shit, right? Like, of course Rika could know that they went in, right? Maybe this has happened 500 million times for her, right? Like, I don't know.
ありゃ。知ってるとばかり。そんなことをしたら、バカ。当然だよ。
Yeah. Interesting. No, I think Mion doesn't know anything, obviously. Yeah, no. Mion muttered bitterly while shaking her head repeatedly. Mion's reaction made me realize the true meaning of the Forbidden Storehouse for ritual implements. The ritual storehouse was a sacred building, so nobody can go inside. The curse will fall upon any who disobey. Any child would know that rule. However, just because they knew about it didn't mean that they all believed in it. Although they were told they would be cursed, most of the kids actually enjoyed hearing the stories. They simply didn't believe it was true. However, Mion's reaction told me it absolutely was. If they actually did that, of course something would happen to them. She was saying that if someone snuck into the ritual storehouse, that person should be killed.
私がこっちに帰ってきて以降、
I
たまにミヨンとは認識が食い違いますね。
the complete problem with Mion's reaction there and what Mion said about, like, of course something would happen to them is, I guess we don't know it, but we know it as much as possible without actually knowing it, that Takano is the one who kills Tomitake, right? And Takano's not actually dead, so nothing would have happened to them, as far as we know, if Takano hadn't done that, right? How would they? No one knew. No one knew they snuck into the virtual storehouse. So it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy in that sense, literally by Takano being the one who does it. So I just think Mion doesn't know anything at all, right? Like, no, not of course something would happen to them, because they're the ones who did it to themselves, or at least Takano's the one who did it to both of them. So, yeah, no, Mion doesn't know anything at all. Mion knows nothing. That's basically the summary of what's going on here. Okay.
そりゃ私だって西宮殿が迂闊に入っちゃやばいとこだってのは知ってますけど、あんな死に方しても当然だってほどやばいとは思わないんだけど、私たちだってその程度の認識じゃなかったでしたっけ？それはシオンがよく知らないだけだよ。
Okay.
すみませんね、よく知らなくて。説明をいただいてもよろしいですか？そりゃシオンの言う通り、子供の世界では
Right.
どうせ迷信に過ぎないだろう。でも大人にバレたらかなり怒られるんだろうなって程度の認識だと思う。でもね、ひなみ沢の古老たちにとってはそんな甘いものじゃないの。
Mion explained to me how the elderly people blindly believe in Oishiro-sama and how sacred the festivals are to them. I'm now thinking, what I'm really thinking about now is why Takano does this, right? Why does Takano seemingly kill Tomitake / do something to him, like seemed like she, like it's just that scene in chapter 3, right? Whatever she was doing with Tomitake's bike and maybe his body and doing something, right? And then fake her own death, right? Okay, let's think about the outcome of her having done that, right? Oh god, well, maybe it's hard to say that too, right? It's normally, you can try and discern the reason for someone having done something by the outcome, right? That would normally be a good way to try and figure it out. But I guess the outcome of Takano having done this is like unclear, right? Like, what I was gonna say is, in a way, it kind of helps the Sonozakis, you could say, because it's another curse murder, which they always use to, like, strengthen their hold on Hinamizawa, it feels, So I was thinking, like, is there any reason to think that Takano is in some way tied to the Sonozakis themselves? That doesn't really make any sense, right? Like, especially because she did it to herself too. Like, she can't just be walking around anymore, right? Like, I don't know, right? I don't know. So I don't think it has anything to do with that, like the benefit that the Sonozakis get from just the curses murders happening, right? What else does Takano get out of having done it? Continued to strengthen people's belief in the curse deaths, right? And Oyashiro-sama and all of this stuff, which is interesting. It's just what's interesting about that too is that, like, it feels like it comes from Takano somehow knowing that another murder wasn't going to happen that night. But I guess that's not true, because she does it still in chapter 3 when Keiichi kills Teppei on that night, right? I don't know. I guess that's my conclusion. I have no idea why Takano does it. I have no idea. It's probably something the younger generations would never understand, but they're possessed by a very strong, deeply rooted devotion towards Oishiro-sama. I mean, like, the only kind of reason I can think of, I guess, is something relating to the crazy shit that makes you go crazy. How it feels like this furthered belief in Oishiro-sama feels like it always coincides in some way with the crazy shit that makes you go crazy, right? It's so instilled in everyone in Hinamizawa, that the people who are experiencing it always ends up thinking that in some way it's related to Oishiro-sama, right? So Takano, assuming she seems like she knows about the crazy shit that makes you go crazy from, like, Tomitake, right, and his death, right? Probably, maybe. And working at Erie Clinic, right? Is she trying to keep that up? She's through having this murder of Tomitake and her own disappearance happen. Is she trying to maintain that, to keep people's fear of Oishiro-sama, and in some way that relating to the crazy shit that makes you go crazy? Like, maybe. That feels so... Again, it's like, why did she do it in chapter 3 then? I guess she didn't know Keiichi was going to kill Teppei, but then the question is, how does she know if a different murder is going to happen on this year anyway, why would she kill Tomitake and make herself disappear, right? How does she, right? Like, why would she choose to do it at all? She seems to have no reason to think that a different cursed disappearance won't happen this year, because she doesn't know in Chapter 3 when Keiichi's going to kill Teppei, right? So it's too much. I don't know. Mion then went on to tell me about how sinful it was to violate the rule of the ritual storehouse. Obviously, I guess Keiichi killing Teppei wasn't really found out, right? It seems like it was like covered up by Takano, probably, right? Like she was the one there who saw where Keiichi was like burying Teppei, perhaps. And I've always kind of thought that it's probably Takano who took that body away from where it was buried so it couldn't be discovered. I don't know. Mion then went on to tell me about how sinful it was to violate the rule of the ritual storehouse. I just couldn't believe things like that were still going on, and even in the modern day. I couldn't even reply appropriately. But, even if it was unbelievable, I couldn't ignore what I was hearing from my twin sister.
なるほどね。でもさ、ミオン。たたりで一人が死んだら、それを相殺する意味で一人を生贄にするのがルールじゃなかったっけ？
Not really, like kinda. That's kind of just a rule it feels like Takano made up.
生贄の死体は出ない。なのに今回は二人とも死体が出ちゃってるんだけど。
Yeah.
そのあたりはどう見る？
Mion doesn't know that besides Takano-san and Tomitake-san, Keiichi and I also snuck into the ritual storehouse. So I tried to lead her a little.
確かにおかしいね。高野さんの焼死体は見つかっちゃいけなかったってことなのかな。本当は高野さんは失踪ってことになるのがパーフェクトだったのかな。
Well, I mean, they made it pretty easy to find her.
あるいは
If so, right?
自信はないけど。何？根拠なんかいらないから言ってみてよ。怒らないから。
Mion hesitated a little, and then started to speak.
西宮殿に忍び込んだのは
Oh.
実は4人と
Yeah.
か。それで？で、もう2人は生贄ってことで鬼隠しになってるんじゃないかな。
And I guess, from what Mion has said, there's some mysterious person who does the underside work of the Sonozaki family. So, like, is Shion still gonna be scared of that potentially happening to her? Because, like, of this a mystical person that Mion thinks exists that's been the one doing it? Yeah, huh. Mion's words were stuck in my head. If those two dead bodies were the result of the curse, then there should be two sacrifices to calm Yashiro-sana's anger. The four of us snuck into the shrine storage together. It was a simple equation. Did that mean Keiichi and I were in danger? I got drunk, fell asleep, and decided to stay overnight. Was that because of the alcohol? Or did someone put a drug in my drink? Jesus, maybe. That's what she would think, right? Like, I don't think that's what happened, but it's not like me to get drunk and spend a night at the hag's house. I wanted to forget about what happened in that eerie storehouse, so I drank too much. But it really was strange for me to get that drunk. Maybe. It was a good thing I woke up in the middle of the night. I don't think so, sadly. I could have been the one to wake up in a cell. Fuck. Sometimes it's hard to recognize danger when you avoid it accidentally. A part of me wanted to just laugh at the idea, but another part felt frightened that I was close to being in Mion's position. No kidding, if my thinking was correct, I wonder how Keiichi Maibara was doing right now. I didn't see him in any of the cells. But that didn't guarantee his safety. Takano-san and Tomitake-san had been executed. There was a possibility that Keiichi could already be dead. Just like what happened to Tachi-kun, it might only happen after a few days. When the sun rose, I was going to pretend to be Mion and head to her school. I was going to check if Keiichi Maibara was safe. If he had already disappeared, the enemy would come after me next. I'd have to be a decoy for myself. But if he was still safe, yeah. Okay. I need to keep my eyes on him. So, it is her, yeah. So, I mean, obviously, right? It's her who's going to be at school tomorrow. So, it was I remember this was always, like, my theory, my idea, that, there was the weird thing about, like, alcohol, and how, like, Shion said that she had been drinking too, when Mion was also drinking, and all of this, and it felt like it was so obvious that, it felt like such an obvious hint that it could be the same Mion and the same Shion, the Mion who goes to school, and the Shion that Keiichi meets at the library. And it just is. Yeah, it just is. Okay. Yeah. I was sure the enemy would come after that scattering. Okay, yeah. If I became Mion, Shion would disappear. The enemy would think Shion had already been demoned away, and they'd concentrate on Keiichi. If nothing happened to Keiichi, that would also be fine. It'd prove that nothing would happen to me either. Interesting. The hag was still sleeping in the wheelchair. I was going to interrogate her, but actually, I wasn't expecting to learn that much. The woman who is also known as Empress Sonozaki probably wouldn't say a thing even if her fingers were cut off. Mion, her successor, was the complete opposite. She spoke readily, but didn't know too much about anything. Mion had said she was only a messenger, and that someone else was taking care of problems on the underside, which is just like a rationalization Mion uses for these events that I just think she doesn't have the answers to at all, right? It was possible Mion had grown to be a good liar, and that she tried to deceive me with a straight face. But at the same time, I could see the hag not letting Mion get involved in the underside of the village. If I were her, I wouldn't have used Mion for that either. Unlike me, Mion was a nice person. God, don't say that. Where there were only ones and zeros in the world, she believed that there were numbers with decimal points. In other words, she could never be cruel. Interesting. What an interesting line, huh? Huh. If the hag thought the same way as I do, it was very possible. The one who took care of problems on the underside, X, was the one who actually governed the curse of Eishiro-sama. Yeah, so this is why Shion is still going to be paranoid and still think people are after her, and all of this, right? Yeah, I mean, and the problem at this point, too, is it's impossible to solve, I think, right? Like solve her paranoia in her mind. She's in too deep on this completely incorrect explanation and rationalization for what's happening with the curse, right? Like, oh, God. If the hag became concerned about something, X would deal with it, either directly or indirectly. Same X yet again, right? Like, I have read what is X written down in my notes for when she was talking about Satoshi, right? Would it actually... I mean, I just don't think so, right? Because the irony about what's going to happen is that it's Shion herself who is the curse, in a way, this year, right? With all the people she makes disappear, at least in Chapter 2. I guess who knows if this will go down the exact same way, but... Or maybe the hag and X would discuss the details first. But did X really exist? If he did, his place in the village hierarchy was a lot more important than that of the successor. Unlike Mion, he was too nice. He was discreet, cruel, and cunning. Furthermore, he was extremely close to the hag. Someone who would have a lot of contact with her just before it was time for the curse. Someone high up in the village. I'm thinking about Kimiyoshi. How in Chapter 2 she did kill Kimiyoshi, right? Because of the way Tomitake-san died, it could be someone who regularly dealt with unusual drugs. He could be a member of a medical institution. And she obviously eerie, right? But there's no way it's eerie at all, right? Of course. Well, of course, I mean, again, the X that she's thinking of right now doesn't exist, right? The X that she was thinking of, but again, it's like if this X, it's interesting that we're using the same variable, right? She's thinking about the X before, for whatever happened to Satoshi, and the X here. Same variable, right? But again, I just think the person, the X that she's describing right now just isn't a thing at all, right? So, the director of the Erie Clinic, Erie. In this isolated village, Erie was famous for opening such a beautiful clinic, and for working so hard for the villagers' sake. We have no idea if anything happens to Erie in Chapter 2. The villagers liked his mature personality, and really respected him. His mature personality. There's nothing scarier than a doctor who's also a murderer. If Erie was the person behind the curse, all the mysterious deaths could be explained. Can they? Not really. No, they can't. However, there's only a slim chance of Erie being X. The main reason being that the hag wouldn't trust him. Like many of the elderly, the hag doesn't like young people. I knew she'd never trust him, because of his age. Yeah. Furthermore, she had openly criticized his behavior among the relatives once. Although Erie was famous, he was an outsider after all. He wasn't born here. He tried to maintain a good relationship with the villagers as the director of the clinic, but that was just on the surface. I couldn't even imagine the hag telling him about her worries, or about the village's underside. If she was suspicious of others as I was, then she'd only gather trustworthy people to deal with that underside. The first people that came to my mind were the leaders of the three families, of course. Leaving Rikachama out, the head of the Kamiyoshi family was a strong possibility. He was the only one who could advise Empress Sonozaki. They were of a similar age, and everyone knew that they were very close outside the family councils. Furthermore, as the mayor, he often went to the Sonozaki house just before Watanagashi to discuss festival preparations. I could easily picture them talking privately. The one who executed the curse of Oishiro-sama, the one who murdered Takane-san and Tamatake-san, the mastermind behind the series of the mysterious deaths that had been going on for the past 5 years. Was he coming after me? Did he get to Sachi-kun? When I thought about Sachi-kun, I felt elevated. I was fearful of possibly being this year's victim until just a moment ago. I was scared that X was after me. But when I thought about it, I realized, whoever it was, this person had gotten to Sachi-kun. I looked so hard, but I couldn't find him. I'd almost forgotten about this enemy. For better or for worse, he was going to disappear before me again. No matter how hard I'd tried, I couldn't find that enemy. But now, he was trying to find me. That was it. I wasn't only being chased, I was chasing too. When I realized all this, I was no longer afraid of dying to the 5th year's curse. It had become a game. I wasn't only being threatened, I was threatening too. Now was the time to settle the score for Sachi-kun. Now is the time to awaken passions that had grown weak over the past year. I could feel righteous indignation and courage flare up within me. Exactly, right? It's like, this is what I wanted the whole time. But, oh god, the crazy thing, too, is that it feels so justified. It really does. You can really follow her line of logic, right? The way she's thinking about all of this, you know? But it's just so just not right. You know, I just... It makes sense. It makes sense. I think she would want to... She would want to blame the Sonozakis for Satoshi as well, I think, right? Like, I think just, like, mentally and emotionally, it makes sense why she would want to do that, you know? I don't know. She certainly... I think she is so close to what I imagine is the actual truth of what's happening here with the murders. Well, I guess the interesting thing with the murders is that you really do kind of have to solve them individually, I believe. And she's basically right about, like, everything else other than the literal murders. In terms of, like, the fact that the Sonozakis are using them for their advantage and all of this, you know? Just the problem that she's getting stuck on is she thinks the Sonozakis are literally the ones behind it, right? Which I guess that's the important part. But, like, I don't know. It's much better than the Keiichi's line of thinking ever is. The only emotion that can defeat fear is anger. When my anger completely overtook my fear, I felt as if I were reborn. Great. Perfect. I kicked her wheelchair rather violently, but that didn't wake her up either. She's just dead. She's just dead, isn't she? She's just dead. I grabbed her hair and pulled her head up. But even then, the hag still stayed silent with a straight face. Then I noticed something. I looked for an appropriate torture device. Oh, Jesus Christ. They're all large scale, none of them being particularly handy. That's when I saw a cigarette lighter on a cushion in the tatami room. Oh, Jesus, I don't want it. One of the relatives must have left it there. I lit the lighter. A huge flame appeared. I turned the lighter off and went back to the hag with it. Oh god, oh god, oh god. I lit it in front of her eyes. Right, good. Yeah, uh-huh. No, I get it though, I get it, right? She was tortured by them, she was literally tortured by them, so, I mean, like... There was still no response. I put the flame right under her nose without hesitation. The tip of the flame touched the tip of her nose. The flame must have burned her nose hair. It smelled terrible. I was already certain, but I continued anyway. I brought the flame closer to her eye. Her eyelid didn't move one bit. The flame burned her eyelashes, making it smell awful again. I turned the lighter off and then felt her throat and rest. No pulse. I didn't feel any warmth, yeah. I didn't feel a pulse either. Yeah. There's no way she could pretend to be asleep or being burned. Even if she could endure the pain, anyone would reflexively move their eyelids if a flame came close to their eyes. But she didn't. I turned the sink water on and aimed the end of a hose at the hag's face. How is she gonna feel about this? Like, what is she gonna... The water pressure wasn't too high, but by squeezing the tip of the hose, I could make it squirt out. The water hit the hag in the face, but there's still no reaction. Shit. You've got to be kidding me. She's dead. The one who is at the center of everything is dead now. I knew she wouldn't talk, but I didn't expect her to end up dead. I'd never even thought of killing her. I walked around the room restlessly. I didn't feel guilty, but instead felt frustrated with what I'd done. This was kind of how I imagined she would feel. Come on, I need to calm down. What do I need to be afraid of? Calm down and stay cool. Calm down, stay cool. I could feel my brain starting to calm down, and my emotions cooling down with it. Interesting. She was my true enemy. It was just that I killed her before confronting her about it. Frustrating, right? Sooner or later, I would have killed her anyway. She wouldn't have said anything in the first place, so there wasn't really a reason why I should have let her live. Hey, it's crazy that we're just already here. That she's like, yeah, I would have killed her anyway, so... I guess, right? I didn't realize that until now, and that was why I got frustrated. Huh. My revenge for Sachikun started with the unexpected death of my grandmother. It was such a strange feeling, like I was wearing sopping wet clothes. I replaced that feeling with anger. I couldn't forgive her. I couldn't forgive the hag for abusing the Hojo family, including Sachikun, for so many years. She cornered him psychologically as well as physically. She didn't deserve an easy death from a stun gun. I picked up a whip that was hanging on the wall. Oh god, she's gonna torture her dead body? I mean, you're not gonna... The whip was designed to make sure the person on the receiving end got seriously injured. I swung it up and then down. The sound reminded me of when I was a child, hitting things with a jump rope I pretended was a whip. But unlike then, I had made a purple mark in the hag's face. The reddish-black blood started oozing out. I swung it up and then down again. This time, the whip hits her in the head. Her hair flew in the air. It's so crazy, the way she is, like, thinking about this, right? It's so, like... There's still, like, this level of emotional detachment, I guess, that I guess it is hard for her to break free from because of the way she's been her whole life, that she's, like, lived like that, essentially, you know? That even right now, when it's like she's enacting her revenge, right? She's torturing her grandmother's dead body. It feels like there's still this disconnect, I guess, right? It feels like she's still just, like, very matter-of-factly summarizing all of it, and it feels like the anger isn't even there, really, right? I saw a bunch of her hair on the tip of the whip. At the end of the bunch of hair, there was a piece of her skin. It seemed the whip had ripped part of her scalp off. I continued to hit her with the whip. I didn't bother removing the hair beforehand. The tip of the whip was divided into many points, with each point having a fish hook on the end. Awesome. These hooks, added to the speed of the whip, not only scratched the victim, but tore their skin as well. The hag's hair was all messed up, and her face was getting bloody. She started to look like a real demon. I stopped the whipping. Not because my arm was tired, but because I couldn't stand the feeling of her hair on the tip touching me every time I swung the whip. I threw the whip at the hag. Breathing heavily, I realized I was covered in her hair. Ugh. It almost felt like thousands of maggots crawling all over me. I brushed it off violently. Oh, God. What's crazy is I feel like the way she's reacting and the way she's doing all of this, it's not even like the crazy shit that makes you go crazy so much more than just her enduring her entire life of, like, psychological abuse, you know? Like, yeah. I put my hands on my knees and exhaled roughly. It was then that I noticed it. I perked up and turned around. There it is. The person who had been watching me, since I snuck into the shrine storage. I sensed this person sitting in the tatami room, and enjoyed watching me torture my grandmother. Does it? An overwhelming emotion started to swallow me up. I desperately tried not to feel it.
いつからそこにいたんだか言ってくれればよかったのに。
It was just there. Just like Sachikun, it was just there. It was extremely uncomfortable to have it just be there.
そっか。レナが言ってたもんね。
It's crazy she's willing to confront it, unlike everyone else who's so afraid of it, you know?
お社様ってのは。
I smiled boldly, and yet I could feel my body shivering.
冗談じゃない。あんたがお社様で、た
God.
たりは本当にお社様のたたりってわけなの。
That's the other interesting thing too, is like she wants to come up with this very human explanation for what's going on, saying it's the Sonozaki's doing it, this person in control of the underside of everything they're doing, you know. But at the same time, it's like it's so hard for her to deny Oishiro-sama, I guess, because of what she's experiencing, right? Oh, God.
バカ誰が信じるかよ
It was just my imagination. It couldn't be the curse of Oishiro-sama. The curse couldn't be real. Everything was done by humans. They made everything look like it was a curse.
あんたが見たいってんなら勝手だけどさ、私は見物料を取るつもりもない。
Right.
でも、私の邪魔をしようってんなら、あんただって容赦しないよ。
No matter what I said, nothing happened. It was like trying to communicate with an insect. I felt like I was staring at a spider in the middle of its web, and the spider was staring back. I turned to the hag in the wheelchair. I couldn't leave her body here forever. If I don't need to make her death known, then it should be quick, and it's best if a body doesn't exist. Not even in this secret underground torture room. Whew. I exhaled to calm myself down. Oh, I remember now. When I was a little girl, Kasai used to love making me feel scared. He often told me scary stories about various horrible things, like the canned flesh, right? I recalled his story about the secret torture room of the Sonozaki family. According to the story, there was a well in the torture room used for dumping bodies in. Yeah. There was a pile of tortured corpses at the bottom of the well, and resentful moans could be heard echoing from there. And about halfway down the well, there was a different tunnel, which was a secret passage leading into the distant mountains. That bit was from Mion's telling of the story. It was probably an amalgamation of tellings from different relatives. The room was supposed to be a huge secret, but everyone got loose lips at the chance to have fun scaring the young successor.
ミオン、昔親戚の誰かが言ってたじゃん。この地下拷問室のどこかに隠し井戸があって、外へ出られる秘密の通路があるって話。
Right.
さっきの音は聞こえてなかった？鬼ババを鞭で叩く音。
God, Mion didn't reply, but I saw her bite her lip.
大丈夫。あんたは叩かない。でもね、あんたが不愉快だと、
Right,
鬼バ
right,
バをもっと叩くかもしれない。今度は鞭なんかじゃなくて。そこの奥。暗がりにも牢屋があるでしょ。その中。
Mion pointed weakly. I walked down to where her finger indicated. A light bulb lit up the cell. It was a lot smaller than the one Mion was in. Like, I just wonder, is Mion gonna try and, like, negotiate to get released? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it can't just already be a bygone conclusion in Mion's mind, or probably even in Shion's mind, that like, what, Shion is just gonna kill her, keep her down here forever? Oh, God. It was very shallow, and I didn't even need to open the door to see how tiny it was. Of course there's no wall in there. I became angry, assuming that she lied to me, but after considering it, I didn't actually think she would at this point. I opened the door and walked in. I noticed something immediately. There's the ladder, yeah. There's an opening right in the middle of the cell. This opening was naturally disguised. The way the rocks and the shadows were positioned perfectly hid the well. The tip of a rock inside of the cell concealed the entrance. Unless you went in, you'd never notice. But it was such a shallow cell that nobody would ever think of going in. Besides, the bars allow you to see inside well enough. Wait, so how is it hidden? With just the way they're positioned? Okay, I guess. Sure. Because I remember they said it took them a while to, like, find it, right? After the end of Chapter 2. The cell is not even a few meters deep, so it would only take a glance to see everything. Nobody would think of unlocking the door and walking in. But walking in was the only way anyone could find the well. Furthermore, there were many cells in this huge cave. Who'd think that one of them was hiding a secret well? The inside of the well was dark. I couldn't see anything. But every little noise I made produced echoes. I could tell this was a very deep well. I brought a flashlight from the torture room and shone it down the well. It almost looked like a vertical tunnel. Obviously a man-made one, at that. There were wedges on the wall, like a ladder, and they looked as if they were inviting me to descend. It's kind of ironic that the secret escape route from an underground torture room ended up being a well that makes you even further down. You had no way of knowing whether it would take you to freedom or to hell. Furthermore, there were the tortured bodies of past victims at the bottom. Who would be able to go down this well without hesitation? Nobody in their right mind could go down this well and to look for a secret tunnel, hearing the voices of the dead all the while.
ミオンはあの井戸降りたことあるの？降りたくもない。それに関しては著しく同感。この拷問室の犠牲者たちが放り込まれた井戸になんか好き好んで降りたくはないもんね。
I went back to the torture room and then returned to the cave, pushing the wheelchair containing the hag. Is she just gonna throw the wheelchair down? Mion screamed.
シオン、バッチャを落とすけ？
Of course.
落とすんじゃないよ。捨てるんだよ。
Oh, God.
もう死んでるしね。
Oh,
さっきの拷問で死んだんじゃないよ。
man. What is Mion? Like,
多分鬼ババはスタンガンで死んだんだよ。
she's so, like, Shion is just so, like, God. I don't know. It's so rough seeing her like this, you know? Like, she's so disconnected from her emotions in any way, you know?
心臓麻痺とかで放置してもいいけど、虫が湧くと嫌でしょ？
Yeah.
ひどい。なんなら死後の鬼ババの世話もする？湧いてくるウジを箸でつまんで捨てるとかやってみる？
Man covered her ears and shook her head. Obviously, like, I hate Oryu, right? I despise her. Probably the most villainous character in the whole story, right? Like, I mean, yeah, like, well, Tepe, right? Other than that, maybe. Yeah, I hate her, right? And I get it. It's just so, it's just very bad seeing Shion like this and talk about it like this, you know? Everything I said seemed to bother Mion. Her own life wasn't guaranteed at this point.
シオン、どう
Don't
して
ask that. Don't ask
こん
that,
なこ
actually.
とを？
I think for Shion, it's obvious to her, right?
さーて、どうしてだと思います？
Yeah. Nobody said anything for a while, but the silence was soon
サ
broken.
トシ、
Oh, no. Oh, God. Oh, God.
Patakiuchi
You shouldn't have
ってこと？
said that. You shouldn't have said that.
敵討ちになったかもわからないけどね。いきなり後ろからバチンだったから、何が何やらわかんないうちにご臨終だったろうし。
Mm-hmm.
ねえミオン、今こうして思い返すと、私はやっぱりばあさんを殺すだけの理由があったように思うの。なぜかわかる？
What
単
is
に
it?
サトシ君を殺した張本人だからってだけじゃないよ。それは嘘をついたから。
Because she lied. I slapped the
あ
hag's
んたも
head.
言ったよね。私が爪を剥がせば全て
Oh,
許すって。
yeah.
だから私は爪を剥がしたんだよ。それでけじめがついたってことになったんだよね。でも約束は守られなかっ
But
た。
it's just because they aren't actually the ones in control of it. It's because they are the ones who actually did it, right? I hate to defend the Sonozakis, but I just wish Shion would think of that, right? That they just aren't actually the ones doing it, you know? But I guess in Shion's mind, the alternative would somehow just accepting that it's just random the curse doing it, which... but it doesn't have to be either of those, exactly, right? Like...
サトシ君はやっぱり消されてしまった。
And I guess, obviously, the way the Sonozakis act afterwards makes it seem so much like they are the ones who do it, you know?
どうして？どういうことなの？
I continued to slap the hag's head. Her blood was all over my hand by then, and it felt gross. It's like she wants to have taken revenge so badly, like tortured her, and, you know, like... I tried to wipe it off on her clothes, but then her hair got on my hand. I ran to the sink in the torture room and washed my hands with a brush. Yeah, the visceral, like... When I was done, I went back to Mion's cell.
あの時、サトシ君がいなくなってしまった後、あんたが来て言ったよね。サトシ君と私の関係は、けじめがもうついてたって。
They were never the ones in control. It had nothing to do with that.
そしてこうも言ったよね。サトシ君の失踪の理由は、園崎本家は何も知らないと。うん。嘘だ！
Lied. My shouts echoed throughout the cave. I was breathing heavily. I felt like I used up all the air in my
あん
lungs.
たが何も知らないのは本当だと思う。あんた自身、ばあさんに真の意味で信頼を得ていたかは怪しいからね。
It's the anger that I've wanted from her, right? But it's just, God.
でも、ばあさんが本当に私のけじめでサトシ君を許したかはわからないよ。アマちゃんのあんたに、本当のところを打ち明けるわけもない。
Yeah. The hag didn't keep her promise. She said she'd forgive everyone, but she lied. She didn't forgive Sachi-kun.
嘘つき、嘘つき、嘘つき、嘘つき、嘘つき、嘘つき。 かな、返してサトシ君。
Uh,
返してよサトシ君。返して返して返して返して。
so I guess, I've said that my thoughts on Sashi's disappearance, I'm so, like, unsure of what really happened. And it feels like the answer could be almost anything, right? Like, I don't know, I just feel like I just don't have enough definitive information to say anything about what I think really happened to him. But because of the fact that Shion is tying in Satoshi's disappearance with everything else, right? With, like, all the other disappearances, the murders, all of this stuff, right? She's using it for justification and reasoning to think that they must be behind everything else. It makes me want to say that for sure then the Sonozakis must have actually had nothing to do with it, right? Because in a sense it is kind of supporting evidence of the conclusion that I think is wrong, right? If they really had made Sachi disappear. And I guess it would be weird, right? I guess I really just think that they didn't. I guess I just really think they didn't make him disappear, and that they really didn't have anything to do with it, right? I just think that makes sense to me. I guess it's hard to verbalize why beyond that, right? I kicked the hag's leg repeatedly. Each time I kicked, the wheelchair made a squeaky noise. I ran out of breath and kneeled down. Mion was still covering her ears, and was now shaking. There were tears in her
怖がら
eyes.
せちゃったね。ごめんごめん。ミオンがミオンの言うように何も知らなかったなら安心して。でももしミオンも嘘をついていたな
I
ら
almost wonder if Mion is gonna... Well, I don't know.
その時はどういう目に遭わされても仕方な
There's
い。
either gonna be something that makes Shion think that Mion was indeed lying to her, or Mion is going to try and, like, lie. Mion is going to lie and say that she was lying to Shion to, like, what, try and protect other people, maybe? Once Shion, really gets going? Maybe, right?
仕方ないよね。
Huh. Awesome, awesome. Great, good. Awesome. It's not Shion's fault. That's a crazy thing to say. What Shion is doing is her fault. She is in control of her actions, right? But again, it's just the fact that she has been led to this place is just very sad and awful, right? Ah, God. Man. Okay, we gotta think back to chapter 2. What's coming up? She's gonna kill Kimiyoshi. She's gonna kill Sadako and Rika. She's gonna... What else is she gonna do? I don't even remember, right? I guess we don't even know what all she's gonna do, right? Like, I just... Oh, God. Okay, let's read the tips. I wasn't planning to kill the hag so quickly. Oh, God, this notebook has really got it all, huh? I was going to kill her anyway, but it was too soon. People would normally assume that the Sonozaki family operates as a hierarchy, but that's not true. It's actually more like a system of government. Several ministries stem from the main family, and each forms a hierarchy of its own. These ministries don't communicate with one another. The people who belong to a given ministry don't know what other ministries are doing. That way, the Sonozaki family's dealings are kept perfectly secret. Of course, the most important people in the family govern several ministries. They know, of course, about their own ministries. And they know a little bit about the ministries their relatives run. But none of them know everything. There are ministries that work in the open. There are ministries that work unseen. And there are some smaller ones that Oryu runs herself. Mion seems to know about most of them, but she doesn't necessarily know them all. In fact, she didn't know about the curse. Exactly! Considering that, the fact that the hag died before I could interrogate her is a huge loss. It's so... Is she... No, she's never gonna think that, right? I just wish she would think about the other possibility that they actually don't have anything to do with the murders, and that they're just using them to their advantage. God. Damn it. Man. Because she's smart. She could think of stuff, Like... The head of the Kimiyoshi family was the one who called the main house most often over the 5th year's curse. My father called the second most. My parents were still high in the hierarchy, but the stir caused by my mother's disownment still hung over us, so we got treated as outcasts. But the fact that my father received so many calls proved how much the hag valued us, despite the distance at which we were kept, demonstrating her own two-faced respect for both sides of the coin. My father seemed to be in charge of the intelligence bureau. He reported police information, gossip, and rumors going around in the Yakuza business to the hag. It's still so weird to me, just like, that the the Sonozakis and Oryu and all of them are in some way... Like, how does she maintain her power so much over, like, the Yakuza in this way, right? Like, I guess I just wonder why her father, Shion's father, who is, like, the head of the actual Yakuza part of it, why they just aren't the ones in control, right? They're the ones with all the weapons and the power and, like, all of this, you know what I mean? Like, the literal, like, hard power in a sense, right? Why does it even go to Oryu in the end? You know what I mean? I guess I don't know. Maybe it's just not that simple. He silences, stirs, and distorts that information at her request. By the way, my servant Kasai is an old friend of my father's. That must be why Kasai knows many things, but I don't know if my father is involved in the curse's execution. My assumption is that although he gathered information on the police investigation about the case, he wasn't involved in the execution itself. The fact that my father and the hag have this close connection isn't widely known. It's interesting. It's like she just... I think in a way this is a stupid reason. She just doesn't want to think that, I guess, right? People know that she uses his information network, but they don't look very far beyond that. In the same way, it's possible that a cursed execution team exists under the hag's direct control. People just aren't aware of it. Interesting. I just don't think so at all. I just think she's going down the wrong path completely, right? Like, and again, it's a perspective that we have that is impossible for her to have, right? Because she hasn't played this game like we have. But it's just, again, we know that so many murders happen that have nothing to do with the Sonozakis. So we know that the Sonozakis can't be... There's just no way they're the ones behind all of it, right? You know, they don't know about the crazy shit that makes you go crazy. I guess, you know, there's so many things Shion doesn't know. It all just leads me further down the path to thinking that, yes, the Sonozakis don't know anything, and they're using the fact that the curse happens to their own benefit, right? The curse. That's not really the curse, right? Yeah, I don't know. Okay, I don't know. I mean, there's just so much stuff to think about. It's like, there's... I don't know. I gotta think about it. Like, God. It's a really good subchapter, that's for sure. I still love Shion, right? I still feel very bad for her. She's still, like, just a child who's been abused and tortured her entire life, that's been pushed to this point, I think, you know? I don't really want to defend her actions. I don't want to say her actions are in any way justified, of course, right? Like, especially with what she's going to go on to do, if everything really does unfold the same way as Chapter 2, right? And it certainly seems like it. So, I mean, yeah. But, I mean, I understand her so much that it's, like, it's painful. It's painful to, like, to say that what she's doing is wrong. Because it's, like, I guess it just shows that, like, this system, the structure here with the Sonozakis, it's, like, no one... It was never going to end well for anyone, right? Like, I mean, rough. Okay, well, I guess that's it. There's always, like, more stuff I want to talk about, like the thing behind Shion, and how it's, like, how this chapter, how Meakashi so far, these last few chapters are really making me view it in a different way. It's making me view it as much more like a literal thing, but I just can't tell if that is just the way that Shion herself is, like, engaging with it. But no, but it's the stomping, and the Saiguden, right? The stomping and the Saiguden is if that is coming from the thing that was behind her, that changes everything about the way I've thought about the thing that's been following behind people the whole time. What the hell is it then? I don't know. If it's not in some way representative of, like, your regrets and your emotions that have pushed you to the point of being affected by the crazy shit that makes you go crazy in the first place, which is how I've always viewed it, as, like, just like this thematic representative thing, right? Then if it's a literal thing, then what's going on? It's like, I don't know. I don't really know what to say about it other than that, I guess. So yeah. Okay. I guess that's it. I guess that is it. So please, if you enjoy my videos, subscribe, leave a comment, tell me what you think, and I will see you in the next one.